On November 24th, 1971, a man wearing a sharp business suit approached the airport ticket counter in Portland, Oregon. He paid cash for a one-way ticket to Seattle under the name Dan Cooper. He boarded the plane carrying nothing but a leather briefcase. He took seat 18C in the back of the aircraft, ordered a bourbon and water, lit a cigarette, and waited. Shortly after takeoff, he politely handed a folded piece of paper to Florence Schaffner, a 23-year-old flight attendant. Assuming he was just another lonely businessman flirting with her, she shoved the note into her pocket without looking at it. But Cooper leaned forward, looked her dead in the eye, and whispered, "Miss, you'd better look at that note. I have a bomb." Terrified, she opened the paper. It demanded $200,000 in $20 bills, 4 parachutes, and a fuel truck waiting in Seattle. To prove he wasn't bluffing, Cooper calmly clicked open his leather briefcase. Inside were 6 thick red cylinders, heavy wires, and a massive battery. The captain immediately radioed air traffic control. On the ground, the FBI scrambled frantically to gather the massive ransom while the plane circled. To ensure he didn't take hostages with him, Cooper cleverly demanded 4 parachutes, tricking the authorities into providing fully functional, inspected gear. When the plane landed in Seattle, Cooper was given the heavy canvas bags of cash and the parachutes on the wet tarmac. True to his word, he released all 36 passengers, but he kept the pilots and 1 flight attendant on board as his hostages. He ordered the captain to take off again and fly south toward Mexico, but he gave extremely specific and bizarre flight instructions. They had to fly under 10,000 feet, and the landing gear had to stay fully deployed to drastically slow the plane down. He locked the crew in the cockpit. Alone in the dark cabin, Cooper calmly strapped the heavy money bag to his chest. At exactly 8 p.m., somewhere over the freezing, pitch-black forests of the Pacific Northwest, Cooper triggered the heavy rear-aft stairs. The massive metal door violently dropped open into the dark night sky. Instantly, the cabin was flooded with freezing, hurricane-force wind. In the cockpit, the terrified pilots felt the plane suddenly lurch upward, struggling to stabilize the massive aircraft in the dark storm. At that exact moment, D.B. Cooper stepped onto the metal stairs, wearing nothing but his business suit, sunglasses, and a parachute. He was staring down into a freezing, pitch-black void. Jumping into this violent thunderstorm was practically a guaranteed death sentence. With $200,000 strapped to his chest, he took a step forward and let the darkness swallow him completely. 2 military fighter jets were secretly trailing the hijacked plane in the dark, but neither of the pilots saw him jump. When the commercial jet safely landed, the FBI immediately stormed the cabin with weapons drawn. But the Phantom was completely gone. He left only 2 strange clues behind: a cheap black tie and 8 cigarette butts sitting quietly in the airplane ashtray. They calculated his jump trajectory, aiming for a massive, dense section of freezing wilderness near Ariel, Washington. The search grid was massive. Hundreds of armed soldiers, local police, and helicopters scoured the dense, muddy forests, expecting to find a dead body shattered in the trees. Jumping blind into a pitch-black storm over jagged mountains and freezing rivers was considered an act of absolute, undeniable suicide. But after weeks of agonizing searching, the FBI found absolutely nothing. Not a body, not a parachute, and not a single $20 bill. The government was completely baffled. It was as if D.B. Cooper had simply evaporated into the rainy sky. He became an instant legend. Every single $20 bill given to Cooper was heavily recorded by the FBI. They had a massive list of the exact serial numbers.
They alerted every bank, casino, and business in the country. If he spent a single dollar, they would catch him immediately. But the money never entered circulation. For 9 agonizing years, the case went completely cold. deeply humiliating the top investigators of the FBI. Then, in 1980, an 8-year-old boy was digging a fire pit on the muddy banks of the Columbia River. Beneath the wet sand, his shovel struck something strange. He pulled out 3 rotting, heavily decayed bundles of $20 bills. The FBI rushed to the scene. They checked the serial numbers. It was exactly $5,800 of D.B. Cooper's ransom money. Finding the money was a massive breakthrough, but the physical condition of the cash actually deepened the mystery for forensic scientists. The rubber bands holding the bills together were still completely intact. This was an incredibly important clue that broke the timeline. Rubber bands rapidly disintegrate when exposed to the elements. They would have rotted completely away within just a few short months. This meant the money hadn't been buried on the riverbank since 1971. It was buried there much, much later. Did Cooper survive the jump, realize the money was marked, and bury a small portion of it years later as a brilliant distraction? The FBI turned to their only other piece of physical evidence, the cheap clip-on tie he left on the airplane seat. Using advanced electron microscopes decades later, scientists found microscopic particles of titanium, bismuth, and aluminum embedded deep inside the fabric. In 1971, titanium was incredibly rare. It was highly restricted and exclusively used in advanced chemical plants or aerospace manufacturing facilities. This massive clue narrowed the suspect pool drastically. D.B. Cooper was not just a lucky criminal, he was an intelligent aerospace insider. He knew exactly which flap to pull to open the stairs in mid-flight without destroying the plane. He knew exactly how the plane worked. Over the years, the FBI investigated over 1,000 suspects. Some made deathbed confessions, claiming to be the legendary skyjacker. But fingerprints and DNA pulled from the black tie never matched a single suspect. The real Cooper always remained one step ahead. In 2016, the FBI officially suspended the active investigation after exhausting all leads. The case remains completely and terrifyingly unsolved. So, did he pull off the perfect crime and live out his days in luxury, laughing at the authorities? Or was he instantly swallowed by the freezing wilderness, his bones resting at the bottom of the muddy Columbia River? The Cooper case is legendary because of the brilliant execution of an absolute madman. He took the money, jumped, and vanished into reality. We may never know his true identity, but the legend of the Phantom Skyjacker will haunt American history forever. Cooper jumped into the abyss by choice. But what happens when you fall from the sky against your will? In 1971, just 1 month after Cooper vanished, an airplane was violently ripped apart by a storm, plunging into the deadly Amazon rainforest. Of the 92 people on board, every single one died on impact. Except for a 17-year-old girl named Julianne Kupka. Strapped to her airplane seat, she fell 2 miles from the sky, crashed through the jungle canopy, and somehow survived. With a broken collarbone, deep gashes, and no survival gear, she spent 11 agonizing days fighting venomous spiders, jaguars, and starvation. Her story is the absolute ultimate testament to human willpower and the sheer refusal to die under completely impossible odds. Click the video on your screen to witness the unbelievable true survival story of Julianne Kupka in the deadly Amazon. And stay curious,